You're listening to another episode of the Ranger Gareth podcast, where we discuss nature news, hot topics in the ecosphere, and interview some of the finest minds in the environment. I'm Gareth, former park ranger and permanent conservationist. Today my guest is my neighbor Abuma, an expert in, well, we're still looking to find that out. I'd like to emphasize that this podcast is separate from my current job. It is, however, my passion to spread awareness about environmental news and events to the general public. I would thank our sponsors, but they're still not here. Any outdoor company, any fitness company, any local Edmonton restaurant or business, I desperately want your shekels. If anybody's looking for other ways to support the show, check me out at patreon.com/rangergareth. You can also join the mailing list on www.rangergareth.com so you don't miss any other episodes. And now for my discussion with Abuma. Boom! Thank you, royalty-free news intro. So the first thing we wanted to talk about today is an issue that is near and dear to the hearts of all Edmontonians. The wasp situation. It was bad this year.
It's terrible.
I don't know if we've had a year this bad before. I did look into this a little bit. The City of Edmonton's pest management team said they had removed 374 wasp nests from across Edmonton this year, compared to 121 wasp nests in previous years. That is, compared to last year, it was 121 nests. That only includes wasp nests that were on public or city-owned land. We have no idea how many people removed the wasps from their own backyards. My friend's wife, actually, she posted a bunch of pictures of the wasp traps that she set up on her property. Because they live down in Camrose, and she was putting out one of those solutions where it's like sugar and water and I believe soap, because the soap breaks the surface tension, the wasp falls in and drowns. Wait until I show you the pictures, Abuma. It was so bad. Alright, found the pictures. So picture you were like just setting out some traps in your yard, where you want your kid to play. And that is what the traps looked like in the morning.
Wow, that's
bad.
That's a lot of wasps.
There were so many wasps in the Tupperware container that they were actually, the new wasps that were flying in were able to stand on the bodies of all the other wasps and still drink up all the sweet little sugar water. So multiple containers being set out day after day after day. Hundreds of wasps flying into them. So it turns out that there is a scientific reason for why we had so many wasps. So normally what happens is during the summer, or during the spring or early summer, the wasps will lay a new batch of eggs. And then in the late summer, so like August, let's say, that whole new batch of wasps comes out and they are hungry. Earlier in the summer, the wasps are eating a more balanced diet with some flower pollen and the larvae of other insects. As the season goes on, suddenly there's less pollen, there's less nectar, and the wasps are looking for other food sources, like human food sources, which is why they're out there ruining everybody's picnics. It also sounds like the unusually hot weather across the prairies in July might have quickened the growth of the wasp larvae and helped more of them survive. So it sounds like the cool, humid summers, that's when we're going to have a good time. These hot, dry summers that a lot of people seem to want, they're going to bring out more of the wasps. Like, I don't know if you remember, it was like 5 years ago where it rained 58 out of 60 days in July and August. Do you remember that year? That was a few years back.
A few years ago.
And I'm pretty sure we didn't have bad wasps that year.
Okay. So, more rain, less sunshine. We're sadder, but at what cost, right? We're happier at what cost, right? The wasps were terrible this year. They were too much. That is insane.
Yeah, we're looking at a picture of a Tupperware container, just completely packed with wasps. It's gross. I'm one of those people who, like, I love nature. I love everything. Everything deserves to live except wasps.
Aren't they invasive?
I don't think yellow jackets are. I just know that they're a nuisance.
Okay.
They're those Japanese giant hornets that are invasive, but I don't know if they have an established population in Canada yet.
Oh, I heard
Picture these, but like 5 times as big.
I heard their stings are terrible.
I've heard they can like rot your flesh. I don't know if that's actually true. I don't know if that's an urban legend. But yeah, Japanese giant hornets.
Yeah, we don't
not looking forward to that.
We don't want that. No.
In other news, Parks Canada approves U.S. company's purchase of the Jasper SkyTram, solidifying its national parks dominance. So rivals say Arizona-based Viad Corp, VIAD, now controls 6 of the 9 paid attractions in Banff and Jasper National Park. Parks Canada has approved the U.S. company's purchase of the Jasper SkyTram, a move critics have said further solidifies its harmful monopoly of sightseeing attractions in Canada's 2 most popular national parks. Rivals say Arizona-based Viad Corp now controls 6 of the 9 paid attractions, which gives them more than 90% of that marketplace, following a decision they lobbied against, contending its monopoly has driven up the prices steeply, worsened congestions in the Banff town site, and unfairly undermined their businesses. I don't know if I really agree that specifically is what worsened congestion in the Banff town site. You've also got, social media making the parks a lot more popular. People are going out there. They want to do it for the gram, or I guess do it for TikTok now. Calgary's growing rapidly. Its population is growing rapidly. Canmore is growing rapidly. Those are all quite close to Banff. So I don't know if I could just say this one company having a couple attractions is the main driver. I feel like even if all the attractions were owned by smaller companies, there would still be the insane congestion in Banff, because it's been getting worse since I worked back in that area in 2015. Like every year it gets a little crazier.
Yeah.
Because Calgary's grown by like what?
It's very popular.
200,000 people maybe in the last decade?
Yeah.
Maybe 100,000, but it's growing rapidly.
Yeah.
Approval of the SkyTram deal would further cross the line of anti-competitive behavior. Norquay Mystic Ridge Incorporated Chair Adam Waterous wrote in a July 4th letter to Parks Canada and the Competition Bureau of Canada. He said, "This monopoly has degraded the environment by increasing congestion in the town of Banff and resulted directly from Parks Canada supporting Viad by approving its projects and acquisitions." But in an interview Tuesday, Waterous said Viad's monopolistic behavior in Canada's 2 flagship national parks is under investigation by the Competition Bureau of Canada, which has been in touch with him. Along with the Jasper property, Viad now operates through its Pursuit brand, the Banff Gondola at Sulphur Mountain, Lake Minnewanka Cruise, Columbia Icefield Adventure, Jasper's Moline Lake Cruise, and the Columbia Icefield Skywalk, which comprises the lion's share of that market of paid attractions. It also owns the Brewster's Express bus line and 10 hotels throughout those parks, 2 of which are in Banff, while also operating the iconic Prince of Wales Hotel in Waterton Lakes National Park. The purchase comes with a 30-year Parks Canada lease and is expected to add revenue of approximately $4 million expressed in US dollars, said Viad. Now, I did not realize just how big this company was. Personally, maybe it's xenophobic, but I don't want a foreign government owning that much of our national parks.
I'd agree with you, honestly. Why can't we own our own parks, right?
You'd think there would be some Canadian entrepreneurs that would have enough capital to make it.
Yeah.
I know in a lot of countries, I know it's not a direct comparison, but in a lot of countries, you can't own land in certain countries. Like, you can only lease it.
Yeah.
It sounds like this is a lease. It's a 30-year lease of the site. But at the same time, are they really going to be able to remediate whatever damage is done to the environment after 30 years? I don't know. I also didn't realize that they owned Prince of Wales Hotel. Like, I've been to that hotel. I thought it was privately owned by like an individual or something, because it's such an iconic Canadian landmark. Have you seen the Prince of Wales Hotel? The one in Waterton?
I don't think I have, no.
What I'll do is, I think I'll add a picture of this to the YouTube video as well, just so people can see it. But when you go down to Waterton, there is an amazing hotel perched on like a little cliff right beside the Waterton Lakes. It is a beautiful old heritage building. I actually proposed to my wife right here, right by the hotel. And makes me a little sad to know it's owned by the states. But then, okay, you know what? Just to play devil's advocate and to be fair to them, what is the alternative if nobody else has the money to take over these locations? Does it just fall apart? Does it get left to rot? Does it go into government receivership? I'll be honest, I know very little about the workings of like big private projects. I don't know what would happen if the SkyTram were to theoretically go bankrupt.
That's a good question.
Yep. I feel like, and again, maybe I'm just ignorant of the fact, I feel like there should be a Canadian company that can own this. Like, the fact that the Brewster's bus is owned by the states is also crazy to me, because I know you haven't spent as much time in the mountains as I have, but Brewster's name, like, that name is everywhere. They set up some of the first ever outfitting operations down there, like, you know, the horseback trips into the back country. I think they set up like one of the first trips to the Columbia ice fields. They were pretty early down there. Like, they did so much stuff through there.
Like a pioneer for a lot of things.
Yeah, like that family name goes back, I think, at least a century in the mountains. Yeah, it's not ours anymore, which is a little weird to me.
That's a shame, to be honest.
Another one that's also pretty close to home for a lot of the listeners here. Province rejects Calgary's revised Green Line plan, says funding to be withheld. So this was supposed to be Calgary's new train line. It was supposed to run quite a bit. I'm actually just going to scroll down to the map quick. I'll add the map in the show notes as well. So it was supposed to run from the river up in a station called Eau Claire, down through a bit of central Calgary until it was supposed to go through Glenmore, like across Glenmore Trail and kind of parallel Deerfoot Trail for a while until it ended kind of in South Calgary. So that was the initial plan. Now it is being truncated, so cut about in half, it looks like.
Yeah, looks like half.
Even though hundreds of millions of dollars have already been spent on the preparatory work, Dreeshen, who I believe is he's our Transportation and Economic Corridors Minister, Devin Dreeshen. He said that we would be throwing good money after bad, and that's simply not an option for our government. Some people might not think this is environmental news. I would argue that it does count because effective mass transit is linked with reduced greenhouse gas emissions. I don't know why Canada struggles so much with trains. It is so odd to me. I look at so many Asian countries, so many European countries have very effective train systems. I don't know, like, if any of the African countries have like a good train system. I don't think any South American countries have a good train system. North America, we kind of have the GO trains in Ontario through like the central South Ontario area, and I believe they go into Quebec. And then I know Northeast US, they have the Amtrak train lines, which I've heard are not great. I just, it pains me. It pains me. We're a fairly wealthy country.
I would say that, yeah.
We can afford to hire good project managers to get these things done. I don't know how we keep having so many issues with trains. In Edmonton, you probably saw the story just a few days ago. Someone else drove into our LRT.
Keeps happening.
For anyone that's not from Edmonton, I don't know if it's called the same thing everywhere, but it stands for like light rail transit. So smaller trains that can operate in many environments. Our municipal government, they built this train line at grade, so at street level, and they didn't put down all the crossy arms and flashy lights, and people cannot read the do not turn right on red signs, and everybody keeps hitting it. So the most recent one, somebody drove a semi-truck into the train.
Yeah.
I don't get how you can't see a train. I don't know what's going on. It keeps happening. I've lost count. This is over a dozen vehicles have hit the train by now.
I think this past week alone, there were 3 incidents.
Oh my god.
Including the semi-truck, right? A guy got struck using his bicycle, the car hit it, and the semi-truck. 3 incidents in 1 week.
My question is, are we the issue? Do we just not get it? Maybe we are the weird Edmontonians because we don't see how this keeps happening.
Yes, maybe we are. I don't understand how you look at the light, right beside the light there's a do not turn, and you still turn. Maybe we need those crossing arms.
God, so many people are saying we need to add them now, which we know would be like at least an extra $100 million now.
Yeah.
Just the amount of money, and they'd have to do consulting, and then the building, and then the testing phases, and it would be... My God, stop turning right on red. Stop it. You passed your driver's test.
Yes.
I passed my driver's test.
We all did.
Everyone that's driving should have passed it, or at least have a learner's. And they teach you to read road signs.
Yeah.
If you see a big right turn arrow with a line through it, that means don't do it. Oh my God, okay. Sorry. So in a scathing letter to Calgary's mayor, Jyoti Gondek, the province has ripped Calgary's shrunken Green Line LRT plan, saying it won't pay for the latest version. Transportation and Economic Corridors Minister Devin Dreeshen also said the project will undergo a third-party review with an eye to an expanded scope using the project's current budget. In a September 3rd letter obtained by Post Media, Dreeshen calls the revised concept of the southeast to downtown LRT plan a wasteful disaster and states the province can't in good conscience follow through with its $1.53 billion funding share.
It's a lot of money.
It does make me sad when you hear about billions being wasted.
Yeah.
Especially when you're like, man, if I miss rent by $10 a month, I'm going to get in like a lot of trouble.
Yeah.
Also, I find it funny that the word boondoggle is so popular with governments. It's a boondoggle! It's a boondoggle! Like, the word fuck up is not allowed. It's like, oh no, this is a boondoggle. I had to look up the meaning of the word boondoggle.
First time I'm hearing it.
Oh man, you need to read more angry government people. A boondoggle is a work or activity that is wasteful or pointless but gives the appearance of having value.
Oh.
Now, I wouldn't say a functioning train line is pointless, but I could see it being wasteful if you're going billions over your budget. Because again, none of us would get away with that. If I'm, again, $10 short on rent, that's going to be a problem.
Yeah.
If you go over your bank account by like $5, you're getting charged overdraft. You go over your project by billions.
Yeah.
Whatever. Wash your hands.
You're safe. Yeah. It's the way life is these days, isn't it?
It makes me sad. So even though hundreds of millions have already been spent on the preparatory... Oh, no. We already said that bit. The minister expressed concerns over the plan's projected 40% reduction in ridership compared to a previous larger version, while its expected price tag has risen by 14%. And he went on to say the province is willing to contract with an independent third party to supply the province and city with an alternative costed proposal to integrate the Green Line with the red and blue lines running along downtown 7th Avenue and a future Grand Central Station in the East End Entertainment District to be anchored by a new events center.
Well, if we can get someone to pick up this and do it efficiently, we should also get that person in Banff, shouldn't we? Right?
Like to build a train line there?
Yeah, to kind of own it, right? I know they've leased it out already to this American corporation, but that would have been an option, right?
Yeah, when I look at the people who are listening to the podcast as well, it seems like we got mainly Canada, some Americans. Hello, friends. We got a little bit of UK, a little bit of Russia, and South Africa, which was kind of surprising to me. If you're still listening to this episode, hello, my South African homie. But for anyone from the other countries, do you guys know of any like good functioning train lines in your area? And do your governments also have the same issues that our governments seem to have with massive infrastructure projects, namely the ballooning budgets? Moving on to the next story, we've got conservation groups saying Alaskan fishermen are taking BC's salmon stock. Now this one brings up a very interesting problem. So 3 million Pacific salmon were intercepted in Alaskan waters on their way to British Columbia. This is due to the fact that salmon spawn in freshwater but spend most of their adult lives in saltwater. Many of these salmon populations are under increasing pressure due to climate change and hotter waters. So, to explain the situation to anyone that isn't quite familiar with it, if you look at a map of British Columbia, you'll see that Alaska has something called the Alaskan Panhandle, which stretches quite a ways down south along the edge of BC. So when Alaska was purchased from Russia, the boundaries had to be negotiated and everything, and they were granted this long chunk of the coast, referred to as the Alaska Panhandle. That is directly connected to British Columbia, so when these salmon are migrating from the saltwater into their British Columbia freshwater to spawn, they're getting intercepted by different fishing operations. And it brings up, for me, a very interesting question as to who owns the fish. Because what the Americans are doing is 100% legal, but I totally understand the concerns of the people of British Columbia, because they also want some of that harvest. And they realize that the salmon population is collapsing, and they don't really get a chance to get any of them before they're gone. There's something called the Pacific Salmon Treaty, which is renegotiated every 10 years. The Department of Fisheries and Oceans says no laws have been broken by this salmon harvest. So anyone that's listening right now, just sound off in the comments. I want to know how you feel about the very niche topic as to who owns the salmon. If they're going through Alaska to spawn in BC, do we need to renegotiate the treaty again? Should they be allowed to go through to BC? It's a messy one, so anyone that has their opinions, let me know. In fact, all right, you, Abuma, as someone who's very fresh to this whole subject, how do you feel about this? It's kind of a messy one, hey?
It's very hard to say who's right. Canada wants their salmon. I don't blame them. But Alaska is doing nothing wrong. So you can't blame them either.
Yeah.
They're within their rights. What I would like to know is when the next treaty would be negotiated. I know it's every 10 years, but when does this one expire? And how do you even police that? How do you police... Do you put a number of salmon that can get caught by the Alaskans? How do you do that?
Yeah.
Is there a particular amount of tons?
I feel like I should have done a little more research before this episode, because I should read that Pacific Salmon Treaty and find out what the actual rules are. Okay, we've got the Pacific Salmon Treaty. We're pulling it up here right now. So,
really
started in 1985. So that means if they're renegotiating it every...
should be next
10 years. It should be it should be next year.
Yeah, it should be next year.
And this was signed between the United States and Canada. The arrangements and institutions established in 1985 proved effective in the early years of the treaty, but became outmoded after 1992 when the original fishing arrangements expired. Sorry, I should have said this at the start, but we're reading this off the Pacific Salmon Commission website. From 1992 to 1998, Canada and the United States were not able to reach an agreement on comprehensive coastwide fisheries arrangements. Then in 1999, government-to-government negotiations culminated in the successful renewal of long-term fishing arrangements under the Pacific Salmon Treaty. Since that time, the parties have negotiated and implemented new fishing regimes on agreed schedules. In 2009, a new agreement for the conservation and harvest sharing of salmon outside the Fraser and Yukon systems went into effect for 10 years. On May 3rd, 2019, the parties implemented a new 10-year agreement for these fisheries that is now enforced through 2028. Okay, so we've got a ways to wait for this to be renegotiated then.
At least 4 years.
For anyone who wants to read this, I'm going to download this and read it myself later as well. But you can check the Pacific Salmon Commission, or psc.org, and find the Pacific Salmon Treaty there. This is going to be a very interesting but nerdy night. To move on to something a little lighter to add some levity to this situation. Grazing goats return to Lethbridge River Valley. For the 6th year, the city of Lethbridge has tasked 200 goats with munching on invasive weeds in 4 of the River Valley parks throughout the summer. They target mostly leafy spurge, as well as thistle, wormwood, and a few other weedy species. Cardinal, I should have grabbed this person's first name, but Cardinal says the city also prefers the goat method because it prevents damage to the River Valley's sensitive ecosystem, which is home to many different native species of plants and animals. By not using pesticides, we're not having any impacts on the river's water quality or impacts to vegetation like the chokecherry or trees, Cardinal said. The grazing goats will be hard at work in the Indian Battle, Botterill Bottom, Paven, and Alexander Wilderness Parks throughout the summer. So for anyone from Lethbridge, keep an eye out for goats.
You know what I like about this? Not using pesticides. I think a lot of weeds tend to adapt over time, right?
Yeah.
The more you use pesticides, it's not good for the environment. And then when they adapt, are you going to use stronger pesticides? You know, like the SCO method. I know there's 200 of them. They're doing a good job.
You ever heard of that stuff glyphosate that was in Roundup?
Glyphosate, no.
That is a chemical that was, oh gosh, be careful, they're going to sue me. I think Monsanto owns the brand.
Okay.
But basically there's this chemical which was used in a very popular pesticide called Roundup.
Okay.
And it gets absorbed by the plant and then it gets absorbed by us. So they did studies and like a tremendous number of people just have glyphosate in their system forever. It's one of those forever chemicals.
Oh.
Where once it's in you forever. And I don't know if there are any other pesticides that have similar impacts. But whenever I hear something like forever chemical, don't like that.
Never a good sign.
Don't like
Never
that one
words
bit.
to hear.
There are certain things that just sound scary. Yeah. Forever chemical. Your wife saying we need to talk. Like,
a girl saying I'm fine.
Yeah. Your mom saying she's upset with you. It's like, oh no. Your parents saying your full name with the middle names. Like,
yeah, that's when you're in trouble.
Scarier than a forever chemical, but forever chemical, it's on that list.
The IRS calling you? Well.
Oh God. And for the final article we've got today, this one's a little concerning. Rocky Mountain snowpack level is still 20% below normal, according to Alberta Environment. Once a month in the spring and winter, water monitoring technologists with Alberta Environment and protected areas journeying high into Alberta's Alpine to assess just how much snow will be coming downstream during spring runoff season. We would like to be above average so we can fill reservoirs so there's more water flowing downstream, said technologist, I apologize if I pronounce your name, sir, Dennis Rolag, during April's flight up into the mountains. The technicians fly over a vast mountain range where typically only wildlife roam to test the 10 sites by hand. They used a tube to check the height of the snow. Each station is tested several times to ensure the reading is correct. The data collected is used by operations staff for managing reservoir levels and other water management. It's also used for flood forecasting. I think we're at about 60% before the snow in March, so we were really low, said Rolag, but we expect most of the snow in the spring. I think we were at, So I am going to do a little segue. So I think did I show you the pictures of the reservoirs in southern Alberta last year?
No, I have not seen those.
Okay, so last year in southern Alberta, we had some bad droughts. So the Old Man Reservoir and St. Mary's Reservoir were extremely low last year. Like, these are areas that, you know, the reservoirs are used for, like, maintaining water flow, I believe the ones down there are mainly used for just drinking water, not so much power generation.
Okay.
But, like, all that dirt and clay you're seeing in that picture, that's supposed to be water.
Oh.
That was last year. But
that was terrible.
I just did a mountaineering course with, there's another pretty bad picture of it. I just did a mountaineering course with a fellow from, he was from Lethbridge, but he spends a lot of time in southern Alberta, where these are. And he said that the reservoirs have bounced back this year, which is good.
Okay.
I am really hoping, and I know I'm probably going to get in a lot of shit for this, I hope we have a really snowy winter. I know it's going to suck to shovel the snow. I know driving in heavy snow sucks. I'm a Canadian guy, been here my whole life. I still don't like winter driving. It's
Yeah.
not like it's scary sometimes, but we need to recharge our water supplies, especially up in the mountains. I'm saying too much today, but one of the on the course that I was on, we also had 2 days of like intro to glacier travel,
Okay.
and our guide said that the glacier we were on was twice as big the year before. A lot of the glaciers
the year
are
before.
receding drastically.
Oh my.
Or so actually twice as big. It was half the size it was the year before. So like, all the glaciers moving back. If you said you have not been to the Columbia ice fields, right?
I have been. Oh, why? That's the one they climb with the trucks, right?
Yes.
I have. Yeah.
So there is a trail there
Yeah.
beside the highway called Toe of the Glacier Trail because you used to be able to walk right to the edge of the glacier. Now you walk for a bit, and then there's a giant mud patch, and then a big lake, and then the glacier way in the distance.
Yeah.
It's not doing so good. So I apologize to anybody that doesn't want the snow. We need it. We just need it for the health of the province. We need it for sustaining the water supplies, especially in southern Alberta. Like in Edmonton, we're pretty good. North Saskatchewan River flows pretty well.
Yeah.
Our reservoirs have been good for a long time, but southern Alberta, they need it. Like they've been on the edge of drought. They've been having droughts. It's not good. I just want everyone to get along. You got any other stories to add today?
I'm just happy the wasps are away now. It's too cold for them.
Yeah, it's pumpkin spice season.
It was a very hard summer.
Stop by Starbucks. They're giving out pumpkin spice stickers.
Channel my inner white girl. Sorry, white girls.
We love you, but we also love pumpkin spice.
We do.
Hey, Starbucks, you can sponsor this podcast
I was
too,
just
right?
about to say that.
I'll slap those stickers on anything for a bit of sponsorship money.
My car, my materials, slap it on my wife. Fuck.
Water bottles, trucks.
Water bottles. Slap it everywhere.
Well, on that note, thanks for listening. Chat with you next time. Peace.